Are we live? Suppose we are, aren't we? Hang on, it's kind of dark in here. Just realizing it's kind of dark. I'm just waiting for the lights to turn on. Yeah. Was it these lights? What have I got for the lights? Automation. Automation 3, the lesson lights. They are the studio room, Arise. So if I have it as Arise, it should just totally be fine, right? Yeah. Good. I think we're ready to begin. Go big. Sup shredders, my name is Logan, aka Spiderhands. Welcome to an SP live streams today. We have got, got my Nintendo Alamo down here making some noises. Welcome to the $6 song reviews number 17, where we review music for just $6. You can put a request through and we will listen to the track. There's more info in the description of this live stream, so if you want to check out more there, you can. And who do we have here? I am wondering if this is the individual who has recently put through something via Ko-fi. Hello! It has been a while. I'm just going to check the feed. The feed. Is that Bill? Bill? Is that you? I could be wrong though. I apologize if that's the case. Hi Bill. Welcome to the live stream. Hopefully if you're watching this, in general, hopefully you're all doing well. We're gonna listen through some tracks today. I'm just trying to figure out. Bill, just for next time so that it's fair to everyone else. That it's fair to everyone else. Is it possible for us to please wait until the live stream goes live next time? Just because that way, if we submit a track when the live stream goes live, it's at the same time as everyone else. Thank you for the request. It's just that it's good to have the live streams open and then everyone kind of put their stuff through at the same time so that it's because otherwise people could put through requests at any time, you know? Yeah, I do appreciate the request, but just next time if we could put it through when the live stream starts, because the link should work with the commissions anyway at that point. But yeah, I'm nonetheless appreciative. We'll go into the main screen. We'll have a listen through Bill's track and we'll go from there. Bill. And what does Bill have for us today? This is Kim Se-jeong. You did her cover. I used my C last time. This is her other cover song, which was first performed by her participation in the Korean music program, The Mask of the Singer. Let's do it. Cool. Let's go. So we got here. Does this load? It does. So this is Kim Se-jeong, 2521. Let's do it. Excellent. Let's listen to it, eh? Good start to the stream. Weather and the Whispering Wind. There is some subtitles at the bottom of the video. Thanks for this request, Bill. Is this a phone recording? I can kind of hear the sound of someone with holding the phone. Great projection there. Nice transfer to a guitar solo. Sorry to interrupt. I just thought I heard a lot of banging, that's all. It could be the recording. The voice is very dominant in the mix. It's nonetheless a nice... Excellent effort. Really competent vocal performance. It still feels like I can catch you with my hand. So as I'm looking back on how things used to be with this person and sort of feeling a sense of nostalgia for it, is that the kind of thing we're going for here? I think the story itself is endearing. 2521 from Kim Se-jeong. The song of that day carried in a ring. So is it more like the song or the story of that day carried in the wing, or is it like a song that was feeling nostalgic? Either way, yeah, I think it was a really competent cover. You know, clearly sang very well, very comfortable in their head and chest voice. Nice bit of vibrato and occasional legato on those tails. It's clearly very comfortable on stage in front of people singing away there. It seemed like an authentic performance, something that meant something to them. And I think as we went further up in our range, it showed a sort of a firm understanding of how to develop a a vocal motif or a progression as we go through. So a very, very comfortable vocal performance from someone who clearly understands what they're doing. And it was just a pleasure to listen to. And they seem like they're really happy with how they did as well, you know, which is great. You hear the crowd with the feedback. And I also want to sort of comment on that as well. I think it's fantastic when vocalists can sing and they can feed off of the energy of the crowd. The last thing you want is for someone to be on stage and feeling very shy and nervous and putting themselves in a position where they're vulnerable, because it just doesn't always pay off very well. You kind of want to, as an audience member, feel like you're in reasonably safe hands when someone is singing on stage. It didn't capture that at all, did it? You want to feel like the person on stage knows what they're doing. Otherwise, it can just be less of a sort of like an important, meaningful performance. So it was really pleasant to listen to Kim Se-jeong sing this because not only are they a great singer, but they interacted with the crowd. So I think finally, if we go back to the actual musical theme, it wasn't just that we had like a nice trade-off to a guitar solo and a lot of movement instrumentally. I mean, to be fair, the instrumental backing wasn't super dominant within the mix. But I think there's a sense of nostalgia with how crispy the guitar tones are, how well they seg with the bass and drum parts there with a mixture of in-string 8th and 16th note grooves on the kit. But there was also a nice amount of contrast dynamically with what was going on with the keys. So you listen to the organs in this piece and you think, okay, they're coming in at the choir parts, which illustrates an understanding that you need to have adjusting levels of intensity. And, you know, the song has a K-drama. Now I still feel sad, just like when I finished this drama. Yeah, that makes sense. So is this sort of a summary of how things used to be in that, is it? Is this kind of summarizing the position after the journey they went through? It does kind of sound like it could be from a K-drama, to be fair. I kind of adore that. I think that's a beautiful kind of thing, really. Music is one of those things where it can either tell a story or hint at a wider concept. Sup, Blue Dinner Box? How are you doing today? Thanks for coming along to this live stream. Hopefully you're well. Yeah, exactly. This does kind of sound like it's from a K-drama, so that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, beautiful track though. I love the mixture of strings there. The strings just are a resonance and sort of like a romantic sentiment there. Romantic sentiment there with those, like Love Lost. So I think the combination of the organ with the strings, with the distorted guitar kind of keeping things kind of crispy and a bit more sort of like passionate, and the drums and bass coming together to polish things off was fantastic with dynamic range. So ultimately, yeah, I think there's a lot of positive things to appreciate about this, and it was good to hear it. So thank you to you, Bill. Thank you for putting this track forward. I appreciate it. Novel first, then song. Drama is last one. Ah, okay. Right. So yeah. That was Bill's request. So the queue is open now. I realized when I first opened this live stream, when I came online, yeah, I've just double checked the queue is open, so that's good. We're probably going to do some music news in a moment. I think it's been a while since we did music news. But we shall take music news. I don't know if you guys use DuckDuckGo. I'm trying to use a new web browser. I watched a video from PewDiePie, and he was talking about how Google kind of tracks you everywhere, and apparently this DuckDuckGo doesn't. So I'm kind of just trying a new browser so that Google tracks me less. It's a... oh, is it on your phone? That's cool. I didn't realize it was on your phone. That's pretty cool. Because I stopped using Chrome because Chrome was just kind of and I liked Opera's sort of functionality for a bit. But I am also using Firefox. Do you guys like Firefox? Firefox is good, eh? So we got Mardi Gras 2025, behind the scenes of Ohakune's Winter Music Festival. That's kind of dope. Ohakune Mardi Gras was first held in 1996 as a way to revive spirits in a community following the Mount Ruapehu eruptions in 1995 and 1996. I just set it to auto-delete history once I quit or after 30 minutes. Can you do that? That's awesome. How do you do that? I might have to do that in my own time. That's pretty cool, though. That's some good stuff. I think Opera also has a function where, like, if you're offline for like 12 hours or something like that, or 36 hours, it changes all your history to to completely different, safe for work links, you know, in case you're looking at any sort of weird stuff. You know what I mean? You got to be careful about your search history depending on what you're looking for, you know. Now this surprises me. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. It's DuckDuckGo's built-in function in mobile ads. That's cool. That's good vibes. Thank you. I appreciate that, Blue Dinner Box. I might have to have a look into that, eh? I'd be pretty down for that, eh? Ozzy Osbourne, 76, reveals his plans to record new music in a shock move as he gears up for final gig ever with Black Sabbath amid ailing health. Have you guys ever seen Ozzy Osbourne live? Ozzy Osbourne. Oh, close enough. I've seen him live. I have seen him live. He's amazing. It was really cool. He was touring with Zakk Wylde. I'm not sure if you guys know who that is, but he's a phenomenal guitarist. It was just great being able to sort of check him out. I would like to, check out Black Sabbath, but I have a feeling that the tickets are going to be pretty stupid in terms of the pricing for them, eh? You know what I mean? You just got to be careful with the pricing for tickets. Hi, lol. How's it going? Welcome to the live stream. You want your song review? You got 6. Please only do one at a time if you do submit. Yeah, please only do one at a time. Because otherwise it's just yeah. It's just a lot. Cool. Well, I mean, we've got stuff on the list anyways. We'll continue. Who's in the queue next? We'll maybe have a look. So the links in the description. If you go to the link in the description of the live stream, you'll be able to check it out there. Yeah. So what do we have? Commissions. Oh, we got a few to do actually. Please also keep in mind that I am mindful of like the amount of time it'll take to do requests, so I can't guarantee that the queue will be open for too long if I see there's like 7 or 10 songs, because I have like a couple of hours to do this. But we've got a track from Paul7931. Welcome, Paul. How you doing? Hopefully you're well. Let's do it. Let's go, Paul. And we have what is this? Paul7931. 9 Inch Nails with Piggy. Let's do it. Oh, hang on. I've just realized. Is Spotify set up? No. It's not, but it will be. So this is Paul's song. It's 9 Inch Nails with Piggy. Let's do it. It's very quiet, isn't it? It might just be my headphones. Get that art up on the screen off of the Downward Spiral album. Sup, Katana? Welcome to the live stream. Groovy bass line underneath. Is that a sound of a pig on the side? Interesting sound with the percussion as well. It's unusual with the panning of the snare though, I'm not sure if I like it. It's like an entire drum kit on the side. I'm not just having a fever dream, am I? Like, again, I'm not disliking it, it's just very unusual. I mean, it's phenomenal sound design with the whispering and stuff like that. Why is Spotify so heavy? Feels like starting a sandbox OS just to start the small program. I don't know, but we have Piggy by 9 Inch Nails. What is this about? I think this Piggy is someone who has been misunderstood by the protagonist, and basically they've gotten to a point where they've had the stuff kicked out of them, and they're at a point now where they've just given up and lost all sort of like sense of balance and equilibrium, and they're just doing whatever the hell they want. I think the chaos of the drum kits on either side is kind of indicative of that, where you kind of have things being sort of discordant and misplaced and sort of dismembered. And I kind of appreciate that attention to detail with the sound design. I think it's really cool. So it's a really neat track where I think part of what works with it is the whispering and the kind of quirky vocal style there. It's incredibly menacing. It sounds like someone who really wants to hurt the piggy or who's just done. And I think that expression can be just as effective as the opposite, which is where people get big. And, you know, big sound is intense, right? I feel like if you can whisper and use sound design, almost ASMR-ish elements, and really kind of build upon the drama and theatrics of it, it can be very effective. So the vocals are done really well here with the song. It's also notably quieter than the later sections there, which means we're sort of building into that point where we just don't care anymore. I think there's also almost a kind of a Primus sort of feel to the way that we do things with like the bass line there. We've got a kind of inherent funkiness with a kind of twisted, distant sound to those synths in like that later section there. It almost sounds kind of spacey and trippy. And there's like a kind of a swing feel to the drums that is put through with the different sort of hi-hat, kick and snare patterns there. That kind of almost shuffly kind of thing we have going on there is kind of tricky as well. And I think it's simply the vibe, the aesthetic that's created by those different components, how it loops in ways where it rolls around the Phrygian. Maybe goes to the flat seventh or something like that, then revolves around. But it's kind of cool. I dig it. It's just an interesting theme to have behind the vocals being done the way they are. I think finally, it's the way that we handle things in terms of the sound design. I think the combination of the dynamic range, things being notably quieter at the start and building up into that kind of really fascinating sort of design decision with the different drum takes being on just the sides of the stereo field. And the way that we had the entire thing on the side is very unusual. Usually drum kits are panned with the different cymbals and drums around the side of the stereo field, like from left to right of the headphones. But to have an entire one on that side, alongside the main sort of percussion or groove, is really fascinating. To then have it go to the other side and kind of even things out is really neat. It's very clever. So I'm fascinated by this piece. I've never really listened to much of Nine Inch Nails' work, but it does kind of, and make me want to listen to it a little bit. I know that they're renowned for their sound design and industrial sort of theme, but just an inherent glitchiness and tension to it that I appreciate and I respect. And thank you to Paul7931 for putting this track through. I had a good time with it. So that's cool. We can tick that off the list. What do we have next? We have a track from Dinner Hay. So thank you to Dinner Hay for that. Thank you, Jeremy Stevenson. I appreciate it. Katana's Key says that are Nine Inch Nails doing the next Tron movie, are they? Thank you, I appreciate that. So I think you are a couple of tracks into the list, but not far off. You're not far off. Yeah. Yeah, so definitely. We'll get to yours in a moment, lol. I think you're 2 tracks away at this point. At the moment, we have Dinner Hay. And they are providing us with a song from Laufey, which is kind of dope. It's crazy how, I mean, I know I say this every time, but it's crazy how quickly she's come up. And California and Me. Sick. So let's do this. Let's go. So this is Dinner Hay with Laufey, Philharmonia Orchestra with California and Me. Okay, so it's just a couple of tracks away. This is why I'm saying maybe just do one song at a time so that you don't maybe get stuck for like an hour or something like that.
Should have figured that you'd go back to New York. Don't consider me when you run back to her. You don't have to hide it, I know why you went. Said you needed space, I know better than that.
I mean, it's gorgeous with the strings.
Could have fought for you, but I just let you leave. you didn't love me. The mountains of valley will weep through the night. Driving down sunsets, a terrible sight. Left me in the ocean for your flame, holding back my tears I couldn't make you stay.
It's beautiful, man.
Quit this, so damn wicked to leave California and I imagine you holding her in your arms, laughing about how I thought that you were the one. I get so anxious and maybe I'm young. The first sign of trouble and I bite my tongue. Left me in the ocean for your flame, holding back my tears I couldn't make you stay. Can't quit this, so damn wicked to leave California and
I mean, it's on par for the subject matter that we've discussed in previous Live albums. But you're right, it does sound like Disney for sure. Katana is key. Absolutely. Awesome. So that was great. That's another fantastic track from Leve. I don't know how to pronounce Laufey's name. I'm pretty sure that I saw Leve on her YouTube. It has her pronunciation for her name on her channel, if I'm not mistaken, but I'm going to double check that in post. I think this track quite clearly is simply about someone, you know, in California that loves someone and they've gone back to New York for their old flame and they're dealing with it in a very sort of like sad Disney soundtrack sort of way. And part of what sells it so wonderfully is how Laufey, they have the phenomenal vocal capacity. They're incredibly competent as a singer. The hidden chest voice, legato and vibrato, the way they hold themselves as a solo vocalist without needing harmonies or anything like that is tremendous. It really does sound like someone singing their heart out on their own, kind of mourning the loss of that, but in the most exquisite way possible. But then you have the fact that they can express themselves in a way that is so appropriate for the subject matter. And there's a sense of, again, a beauty that corresponds effectively to what we're doing with the string section and the woodwinds and everything like that. And it's wonderful. It's a wonderful performance. So incredibly articulate, expressive, dynamic, and overall nailed it. But I think, I mean, you listen to these individual components of this, and there's this dreamlike smoothness with the way that the string sections are played in the mid to lower ranges, with these very gentle yet still noticeable little bits of melody with the flutes and other woodwinds kind of contrasting in terms of the flow of it. You know, don't get me wrong, sometimes they do long whole notes and they flow, but other points they contrast or they call and respond, and it's just a fantastic use of the contrast between the different tones and textures. And you've got that piano as well with those wonderful arpeggios on the right hand, with the bass notes being ground out and potentially arpeggios on both. It's just a really fantastic performance on the keys as well. And like, it's very intricate actually. It's a really technical performance on the piano, which is very subtle in comparison to what Laofi's doing as a main lead. It's just great to have this much really interesting stuff going on instrumentally and vocally, and for it to all interact and make sense musically. And you have these little kind of flutters of higher notes in the ether as well on tails and stuff like that. So I think it's also the way that the flutes and other parts were played and the way they decorate the piece with bits of ear candy, whilst also harmonizing neatly with the triads and occasional extensions. There might be extensions more often, it's just they're less pronounced in this. But yeah, it does sound more like an orchestral soundtrack for a Disney movie, as we've said several times there, and I think that you can kind of tie them together. Almost like the princess mourning the loss of the prince. And so you're finally left with the fact that it's just recorded so wonderfully. There has not been a single track of Laofi's where I've heard it and thought, they could have done something different. They could have mixed that differently or added... Like, there's no need for any vocal effects on Laofi's, like, effects chain. They just have a great sounding voice, and you're not going to fix it in post because she's damn near flawless whenever she gets on the mic. It's a incredible compliment in this day and age with music the way it is, to not need to do anything to improve something. For them to just be so utterly competent that it's just fine or wonderful as is. And everything else has been recorded and analog and just performed and played well with a great sense of life. It's vivacious. And you're just left to appreciate the journey you've been on in a way that's very authentic and organic. So ultimately, it's a fantastic additional track. I've continued to enjoy Laofi's work as well as the Philharmonia Orchestra when I've heard them. This was California and Me, and thank you to Dinahay for putting this request forward. I appreciate it. Had a great time with it. Awesome stuff. And then we have... What do we have next? We have Stefan Johansson, as well as Jacob. Hopefully you're doing well, Jacob. Hopefully you're having a good day. Thank you for your request. So it's Stefan, and then Jeremy, and then Jacob. So we're getting through it. We're doing well. Yes, I had a feeling. I had an inkling that that might be the case. Yeah. Hello, kind of interesting free-flowing stuff here. Hope you're well. Thank you, lol. I appreciate it. It is my job. I do music reviews. And I also just like understanding music better. So I appreciate your comments and feedback. I think that, yeah, every song has its own flavor. And it's just great being able to sort of get to know them better, you know? So this track is titled Night Blend. Let's do it. What have we got here? This is very loud, but I like that. The strobe not included virtuoso mix. How many LUFS did you do for this? Like, is it like -7, -5? Get that art up on the screen. Oh. It's interesting how it pulses. I thought you were going to commit to triplets there for a moment. Panning. Where are we going with this part, though? Excellent. So Night Blend, Strobe Not Included Virtuoso mix from Katana and Protector. Kinda Complinks breakdown and pre-chorus. Yeah, I would say that would be an accurate summation of it. An accurate summary of it. So I think this is meant to sort of imitate a really intense, diverse night out and lots of different clubs. I think part of what makes this work as an instrumental is just immediately you have those quarter note kicks as the focus for filtering. And as a listener with this kind of music, you're wanting to hear indicators. You can do that if you want. That's okay. People are welcome to submit tracks when they want, as long as it's one at a time. I keep an eye on the queue to sort of check if there is enough space in it or not. But as long as the queue is open, you're welcome to submit a track. It just needs to be under, I'll just be listening to 5 minutes per track. So even if it's over 5 minutes, it'll just be the first 5 minutes of it, or if that makes sense, yeah. So it's all chill. But you're wanting to make sure when you listen to a new electronic music producer that they know what they're doing. And I listen to this track, and I think part of what works so well about it is a wide variety of different percussive concepts, the different beats and grooves and builds and rhythms on the different sort of samples and kicks and snares and cymbal patterns and stuff like that. It's knowing that the chord note accents are still going to be reliable regardless. It's knowing that if we have the drums come away, for example, that it's allowing things to float a little bit. It's also having not Nah, I don't really do ratings for songs. I don't do ratings for songs during these live streams. I mean, like, it'll be a very casual number if I do. Very casual number if I do, but I usually charge to actually give a number out of 10 for stuff. And that sounds so pretentious, but because I have to think about it. And we can do a casual one. We can do a casual one. Because I was thinking usually when I do like the song rankings for like the Fiverr stuff, it's based on a lot of different criteria, so it's a bit more complex. Yeah, sure. Okay, cool. I would like to give a rating because were my bars funny and did you get a high entertainment value out of the song? Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, you know what? You've asked for a number. I'll give you a number, but we have to be happy with the number that we receive, okay? We have to be happy with the number that we receive because I'm going to be honest about it. I'm not going to say it's a 10 if I don't think it's a 10, all right? And I don't think I've ever given a 10 to a track. I don't think I've ever given a song a 10. So yeah, cool. With that in mind, what else did I want to say about Night Blend? Yeah, but just to confirm, it's not going to be like the Fiverr stuff where I base it on like a decimal score. It's not going to be like a 7.3 because I based it on 9 different areas. It will literally be like, it'll be like okay, really quick. How I base it is that if like a song is like good, as in there's nothing intrinsically wrong with it and it covers the fundamentals, it's probably a 7. Okay is a 5, and if there's like there's some good stuff but there's some errors. An 8 is if it's great. A 9 is if it's amazing, like mind-blowing, and then like a 9.5 is like it's damn near flawless, and then a 10 if it's flawless. So if your song's good, just probably anticipate a 7, maybe. But yeah, we'll see how we go when we get there. I mean, but in terms of a track like this, just really quickly, if I was to give this a rating, I'd probably give it like an 8 or an 8.5. Like, because it's just got a lot of really incredible stuff going on with the different rhythm figures and stuff like that. I mean, I love the variation of these different like synthesizers and arpeggios and stuff like that. I think the production techniques in terms of getting those automations and stuff like that to sort of work like that are fantastic. They're very high level. I love the sound design with these sequences on the side as well. There's an incredible sort of atmosphere that's been created by this. And you've also got these kind of really subtle pads on the side there, which is another thing. I think it's the atmosphere that is created as part of this. I'm not necessarily totally sold on the structure of it, but I think that the journey that it goes on is nonetheless experimental. And I think the third thing I'd say I appreciate about this, aside from the way that the way I appreciate the journey we go on with this, and the fact that we start almost like a traditional EDM track with the house elements, but then we just go on a complete sort of like walk and a journey and a sprint. And it just goes, it's just a very wild ride there. And I appreciate the creativity involved in being able to put those together. Like, I would expect a track like this to have probably come out of some of the major labels in the early 2010s without any, like, completely genuinely. Like, this would have been, like, on par for the major labels and the electronic stuff back in the key. No, I like how, even if it's not as, like, clinically tight as it could be, that it is, like, kind of a raw, it's like a rough, well-constructive, organic piece there that clearly has a human behind the faders trying to put stuff together and isn't trying to present like it's not. So ultimately, I think the production is fantastic. I really appreciate the quality of the effort there. I think that it's the leveling is fantastic, the atmosphere created by the different instruments, and it's the journey that you go on with this that really makes it special. I think that's ultimately a reasonable summary of it. There's just too much intricacy to really get down in the weeds with it. I'd have to go through the individual chapters, and if I was to do like an actual full song analysis for a song like this, it'd be about 15 minutes. And we don't have that kind of time. So yeah, thank you for that, Katana and Protector. It was a great song, Night Blend. Really enjoyed that one. All right. So been asked to give a score to this next one out of 10. And we're going to be okay with the score that we do. It's going to be nice. Jeremy Stevenson, let's do it. What do we got? Yeah. When I started doing live stream, like when I started doing videos on Fiverr, I got threatened with a lawsuit pretty early on because I didn't like a track that much. It was just too much stuff going on. And I just worked with some really kind of like crazy people who were very much like, if you don't give my client a 10 out of 10, then you just, it was bad. So that's why I'm hesitant to give scores as well. Everyone's gangster until they don't get the score that they like. There we go. Anyway, let's do it. What do we got? Pure Boss Player Freestyle 2024.
You the realest nigga I shit. I'll let you fuck my bitch any day. Yeah. It doesn't even matter. Turn up all that real boss player shit. Shout out the street, turn up every day. Snap on the Asian bitch, now she think I'm bamboo. Fill her damn head up like a hot air balloon. Feeling like a movie cause a nigga is coming soon. Finna light the flame up and put it to the fume.
I like the wordplay, it's quite nice.
Like Heidi Klum. Niggas walk up and act wild and animated. The nigga talking hella shit, the nigga got me agitated. Got a fiend Indian bitch, I got her from the Appalachian. Finally got my dick sucked, so give me some congratulations. Miss fucking bitches off the web, I love backpaging. Trying to rap on these songs and get some adoration. Used to be broke as the bitch and read affirmations. Fuck the crack hoe and then I got a yeast infection. Niggas shooting guns and they flying down the intersection. I just got my meat burnt, I don't even use protection. All I wanna do is fuck hoes with a pale complexion. Nigga, don't you see the Tesla? It's the purple thing. When the doors go up, they hit the bird like purple rain. Make a nigga disappear, I feel like I'm David Blaine. Smoking on a different gas, nigga, this a different strain. Currently, I'm sitting somewhere in the projects. Ballin' real hard, I'm the #1 prospect. When it comes to the style, I got different aspects. Leave a nigga dead just like the damn Aztecs. Moving real fast in a brand new Honda Accord. Bitch got a big ass, she built like a wild boar. She don't wanna suck on my dick, she treat it as a chore. She don't wanna shake her ass, wow, what a bore. Man, she crummy as hell, she rockin' shell toe. Stuck to my dick all day like she's some Velcro. I used to watch 91210 and Melrose. Now I'm rockin' gold and black like a pharaoh. Bitch, bring the racket like me or Sharapova. Niggas dying to smoke like they got ammonia. I used to sleep in school, how I get a diploma. If it wasn't for the IEP, I'd be a goner. Finna stay up in them walls just like a cocoon. Bend her ass over, eat her ass like a macaroon. I'ma rob the bank dog day afternoon. Had a bad day, so I was acting rude. She don't even wanna play, all she wanna do is stay. If I throw the bitch, she'll come back like a boomerang. I was going up in this bitch just like a scuba tank. I ain't gonna lie, I think the bitch need a UVA ring. You can't tell how I hit the block, I'm maneuvering. All I wanna do is rap and say stupid things. Niggas get rings for switching teams, they like Robert Horry. You'll never catch me on TV on fucking Maury.
All right, yeah, I get it. I get why people might have laughed at it. I get it. The wordplay is tight. There were a few things like there were a few lines in there that I appreciated there. I think, lol, if you're watching this, what do you think this track is about? How would you describe to someone who hadn't heard this song before what this track is about? I like the one where he talked about being a pharaoh. You know, the pharaoh, like he's got the gold of the pharaoh and stuff like that. I like the Maury line. I think it's cool. Like, clearly there's some edgy stuff in there and there's some raunchy stuff in there. I can't relate to it. I think that's the problem. I can't relate to what we're talking about here. I think that it's still cool, though. If you're looking for a score, I think that the wordplay is pretty solid for the most part. I'd give it, like... I think it would be... I think there would just need to be more. But then you had the intro part where you were speaking, so it was cool. I think that, like, how do I describe it? I think it's great that we. Okay, so let's just talk about what we like about it. I think that structurally it was cool that we had a 2-minute track and you kind of had that theme and it was kind of split in two. If we go back to the first half.
Nigga got me agitated. Got a fiend Indian bitch, I got her from the Appalachian. Finally got my dick sucked, so give me some.
Yeah, so we're throwing stuff at the wall. Basically, it's about our sort of situation in life, the things we've done in order to improve things, talking about like school and making gains and getting gold and stuff like that, and also interactions with like women who either want to sort of suck us off or don't, as well as other things there. And that in 2 minutes is good. I think you kind of get a feeling for the vibe and atmosphere that we're describing there. And I think that if you'd had more than 2 minutes of that, it might have been like, where do we go from here? We have the kind of shock value of it, depending on how used to this kind of stuff you are. And then if we have more of it, it's like, how do we elevate or escalate or kind of bring it down from there? And in having that kind of theme there with the bouncy kick and the kind of strings in the background added an interesting sort of nostalgic kind of feel to it, which was kind of dope. I think the balancing there was kind of cool. I think that if you had bought... If you had... I think if there was any feedback, I would like to see if we can approach a wider concept within the space of a track. It seemed like we were taught we had like a lot of bars and some of them were really clever. It'd be cool if we could maybe describe like a wider overall concept and sequence. Because again, the wordplay is solid and that, I suppose that'd be my feedback in terms of like, because that way we could kind of go somewhere with the beat and you kind of like build up to something. Because again, I think 2 minutes, the theme, we had the kicks and the bass was great. You know, if we had the story continue to build into something, then what we could do is add more instrumentally and then the song could grow with the vocals, you know?
Different gas, like she's some veil.
And there's like little flutters and interesting things instrumentally that I hear. I think also I'm focused on the sound of the kicks and the bass and the vocals because they're the dominant things in the mix. There is a bit of replay value.
Niggas dying to smoke like they
I do like the sound of the strings in the background. They are kind of pretty and they kind of soften some of the messaging a little bit.
under a cord. Bitch got a big ass, she built like a wild boar. She don't want to suck on my dick, she treated as a bitch, I got her from the...
Yeah, exactly. I agree with Jacob there. I think that your ability as a vocalist is tight and you have a good texture and timbre to your voice. And the quality of the vocal performance is good. It's not a vocabulary thing at all to me personally. It's more like, what is the story that we're telling? It's like, what are the chapters of the story that you're telling within the song that is a book? Do you know what I mean? It's like, you know, like what would you like to write music about? What's something you could write an entire song about? If you know what I mean. It's not even constructive criticism. It's just like, because if you were to do an EP or album or something like that, do you feel, because this is a freestyle to be fair. Okay, so that if we go from there, it'll be, yeah. Yeah, so I suppose, yeah, that's the feedback then. If there's no story, it'll be cool to hear when there are stories. Yeah. That's my feedback there. I appreciate the one-liners though. So in terms of a song score, based on the fact that it's a freestyle, 7. 7 out of 10. Yeah, 7 out of 10. It's good. It's a good song. I think it would have been great if we had adjustments to the theme or changes to the rhythm of the percussion, or if we had noticeable pauses in the track though, or if we had maybe had 2 different sections to the piece, although it was through composed and that's fine. We didn't need to have it as a verse chorus thing and to structurally. I think that the actual The length of it was fine again, as I mentioned before, and your vocals are good. So vocals and structure is great. More sort of range within the composition and beat for future parts if we wanted to get a higher score, basically. Yep. That's it. And in general, I think the production is good. I think we're comfortable with what we're doing anyways. So feedback is relative in that situation. And also, I think I'm kind of a hard kind of nut to crack in terms of laughing. I don't really laugh much when I listen to music. I don't think I've ever laughed when I've listened to a song. And that's a wild thing to think about. So if you're getting other people laughing with your music, you're probably onto something really special, and I wish you the best of luck. Yeah. Vocals are tight with good quality and great sort of like clarity of performance. Structure is good for the 2 minutes. And I think the instrumental parts with the strings and everything going on in the background, the sub layers with the bass is tight as well. Yeah, those are 3 things. That's good. And we've already given some constructive feedback, so good. I feel like that's solid. I think it's just a wider concept, kind of measuring it over that. But it's especially, so just to confirm before we finish, did you make that up on the spot? That's the purpose of a freestyle, right? Because if you're able to make that up on the spot, that's pretty amazing. It amazes me when people can freestyle, eh? It amazes me when people can freestyle like that, eh? Some people are just able to just make up stuff. It's just awesome. Yeah. Scores are hard. Anyways, moving on. We've got songs. We've got more songs to do after Jeremy's one. Thank you to Jeremy for your request, by the way. Hopefully that was at least some of the feedback you were looking for. Yeah. Thank you to Katana and Jacob. Jacob liked the vocals. That's cool. I like it. Yeah, it's cool. Again, if you're freestyling off of that, it's awesome, man. I respect that. I gotta respect that. I mean, I know for sure I can't freestyle for shit. And I think that kind of like when you punch in at the end of stuff and you're kind of putting those different freestyle bits together, that's basically what a lot of songs are. It's just, again, combining lines. We've spoken about that. It's all good. We got a track from Jacob. What does Jacob have for us today? I feel like I'm yammering and stammering and blabbering. Jacob has Kanye West with Ghost Town. You're welcome, man. Again, apologies if I yammered and stammered. Sometimes I forget that words only need to be said a couple of times. But we will live and learn, right? So this is Ghost Town from Kanye West with Party Next Door. By the way, Jacob, what do you think of Kanye's latest release?
Someday, I wanna lay down like I did on Sunday. Some days, I remember through some Sundays. That way, yeah, way, that day.
Sorry to interrupt. I hate being bipolar. It's awesome. I think most people do Blue Dinner Box. I think they do. It's a shame. But that's the journey that they've taken.
I've been trying to make you love me.
Great guitar tone there.
Just takes you further from me. Someday we gon' set it off. Someday we gon' get this off. Baby, don't you bet it all on the path of fentanyl. You might might think they wrote you off. They gon' have to wrote me off. Someday the drama be gone and they'll burst. No. Sometimes I take all the shine, talk like I drank all the wine. Years ahead, but way behind. I'm on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No half truths, just naked minds. Caught between space and time. This now with the word in mind, but maybe someday. I've been trying.
He actually has a really nice timbre to his clean vocals.
To make you love me. But everything I try just takes you further from me.
Whoa, once again I am a child. I let go of everything that I know. Yeah, of everything that I know. Yeah, and nothing hurts anymore. I feel kind of free. We're still the kids we used to be.
Creative use of distortion there.
I put my hand on a stove to see if I still bleed. Yeah, and nothing hurts anymore. I feel kind of free. We're still the kids we used to be. Yeah. I put my hand on a stove to see if I still bleed. Yeah. And nothing hurts anymore. I feel kind of free. We're still the kids we used to be. Yeah. I put my hand on a stove to see if I still bleed. Yeah. And nothing hurts anymore. I feel kind of free. We're still the kids we used to be. Yeah. I put my hand on a stove.
Good use of double tracking there.
To see if I still
Sorry, good use of double tracking there, not reduce.
bleed. Yeah. And nothing hurts anymore. I feel kind of free.
It's kind of a surreal song, isn't it, this one? Ghost Town with Kanye West and Party Next Door. So it's basically about someone who wants to be able to sort of have the high life, have the best out of life. But they also want other people to love them and care about them too. And they get to a point where they're just struggling to be enough by themselves and they're doing what they can to feel something effectively. I think one of the things that works so well about this track is how raw the vocals are. There's no real sort of like polishing or shine on them aside from EQing and compression. It's people calling into the out from the void, trying to figure out where they're placed and stuff. And it's just
I wanna hit the red dot and never cry.
there's like vocal fry and distortion and it's unapologetic and there's gain staging that's kind of gritty sounding. And I think that if you tried to color or like tried to overdo the vocals or sterilize or overproduce them, it would have completely ruined the affectation of it. So well done on that front. Having a more organic, authentic sort of tone to the vocals in a song like this where it's just getting so real is really important, I think. The guitar tone and how it sizzles is fantastic and well. It's just kind of gritty and raunchy and it's just very kind of rock and roll, Almost like you're kind of that caustic kind of tone of it is crying out for attention. But I also sort of contrast it with the sound of the spirituality of the organ there. Almost like we're living that rock and roll lifestyle, but still trying to keep our faith somehow. And it kind of sounds like an old school recording there with some of the drum bass samples and stuff like that. But it's like it's harkening back to an earlier time that is still just as applicable to now. Maybe it was like a feedback on how things used to be back in the day. But I think just like the way that we kind of build and play with the tones and textures and that like laser beam sounds and filters and rises and stuff as we go through really does sort of indicate that things just become a bit more sort of disillusioned as we go through this piece and learn more about the state we're in. And I think that the guitar becoming a bit more sort of frenetic and angsty is just more sort of like nervous excitement, maybe being put into the wrong thing. And I think that like it's not just the fact that the vocals are raw and overproduced. The track itself is also kind of gain staged in a way where there is the faders are being peaked and it's analog distortion now, which adds a kind of a sizzle to it. But it's done in a way where it's not repellent. And that is a very, very difficult thing to pull off. And I admire the fact that we were able to do that in a way where it still sounded good. I've listened to some stuff from Ye or Kanye in the past, and it is done in a way where it's not trying to be too sort of prissy or picture perfect. And it's some of them, it's kind of grounded in a sense because it sounds like they actually recorded it. I don't know if that makes any sense, but I nonetheless appreciate the quality of vocal production, how, again, kind of raw it is, coupled with the vocal takes there from the different people, how they're done and not overdoing it, as well as the instrumental backing as well. I think there's a lot to appreciate within this. Thank you to Jacob for suggesting this song from Kanye West titled Ghost Town. I think a lot of people miss Kanye West. He should probably get proper mental health. I think he went into rehab a little while back with Bianca before they split up or something, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's one of those things where, you know, the meme where you should all know less about people. I mean, I don't think you should know less about people if if they're suffering from mental health issues. Don't get me wrong. That's not what I'm saying here. Because clearly people need help when they're suffering from mental health issues. But it's also, I'm surprised how much I know about him at this point. Just from like, I don't know, going online. There's a few people like that around at the moment that you learn a lot about without trying to. We've got another track from Jacob after this. It's a song from Daughters titled The Reason They Hate Me. So it'd be good to hear more. Who's the last song from? Violent Crimes. What do you like about that one, Blue Dinner Box? What do you like about Violent Crime? Sounds weird out of context, doesn't it? Oh, Daughters. Yeah, I'm starting to get familiar with some of these bands y'all have been sending through. I'm starting to get familiar with them. There's like patterns with some of the stuff you guys like, and I appreciate the patterns. They're cool. It's fun to listen to them, eh? We've got The Reason They Hate Me by Daughters. Harsh, abrasive, catchy, fun. If it has a pop hit, it'd be it. Let's do it. Let's go. The Reason They Hate Me. It is kind of catchy, isn't it? It's so dissonant, though. Ooh. Staccato glitchiness. I wonder what life experiences brought him to the point where this was like, I want to make this music, you know? It reflects the lyrics kind of well, though, the tension there. Maybe the sun waits for you to be shown what to do. Crazy. So that was The Reason They Hate Me by Daughters. I mean, there's a hell of a brutal track, isn't it? Trying to figure out what it's about. Is this about grab ass with that boy, with the boy, which one's giving you a ride home? Is it about like a person that they're into sort of like screwing them around, not kind of messing around, kind of like a menage a trois, something like that? I got a name for people like you, but I didn't take the time to write it down though. Like an affair or like flirtation or something like that. And it's just the sun will tell you what to do. I'm not sure how to describe that. I kind of got an inkling, but I'm not sure. How would you describe it, Jacob? How would you describe what this is about? In the meantime, the visceral tone of the vocals is kind of selling it. You can kind of imagine someone saying this to another, and he's not singing it. It's kind of guttural in its approach. It just does feel like you can slice the tension with a knife. I guess he's just answering haters. I never know what he means. I think he's talking about maybe like a person, maybe the person he's into, and they're getting with another, and maybe they're calling him like the S word, or like I don't know, because I don't know if I can use those like a whore or something like that. I'm not sure, but that's my interpretation of it. That someone they love or like flirting with another, and they're kind of there's like an uneven power dynamic or something like that. But in that sense, the way he's delivering it kind of does sound like he's sort of screaming to the void a little bit. He just wants to focus on his job, but other people around him are sort of like mean mugging him, and he's just very kind of tired of it, and he just wants. Yeah, he doesn't want to be told how to do his job. You know what I mean? Like, so that's basically it. It's the delivery of the vocals is fantastic. The delivery of the vocals is fantastic. Works well with the topic. It's the use of those flat second intervals, like that kind of glitchy, uncomfortable instrumental layers that decorate this piece. It's got a bass line where it could be quite catchy and easy to follow along with. But it's just so gross how you have these flat second intervals kind of going plunk, 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 plunk. That's what the nail scratching on the chalkboard is, Jacob. The riffs are catchy, but they've processed it to have a flat second harmony or something on top. A flat second harmony, and it's just so gruesome. It's just so gruesome because of that, and it's quite unique. I haven't really seen anybody do this before, but I'm kind of blown away by the malice that is sort of like symbolized by that. And I adore the fact that we are able to take a really catchy theme and murder it. Just destroy it. Take it apart piece by piece. So yeah, ultimately, the instrumental performance is full of harsh textures. And it just sounds like a computer having a really terrible time in that solo section. And for it to be like a computer malfunctioning is just a great sort of parody, I think, of singles where they do try and have more sort of traditional sort of sub-lead or alt-lead elements there. But that kind of oscillation and the kind of like how terse it sounds, that connects with the vocals and the subject matter really neatly. And then it's just the studio production of it. The way that it kind of sounds like it's all being discordantly shoved through a matrix in the wrong angle. Like the use of the toms and everything, the drums are clearly well recorded, and I think the vocals are a clean take as well. But then you've got just this overall just animosity to it. And knowing how to simultaneously have things recorded well whilst also effects process them in a way where it sounds like this is testament to their ability in post. The studio production suits the vocals and the instrumental parts and the layering so well. There's an inherent and respectable chemistry between the various components that I appreciate, and I adore it. And I just think it's just an unpredictable track that mirrors the theme well. And all the nail, yeah, no, honestly, really blown away by it. Nice and loud without pumping, squeezed, but suits considering, again, the mood. And there's like the vocals. There's like a filtering or distortion or something or drive on the vocals as well, so they sound spicier. It's just such attention to detail. So thank you to Jacob for that. I really appreciate you putting that through. It was a cool song. Really cool song. Really, really cool. So I'm going to mark that as completed. And what do we have next? We have so those were Jacob's tracks, which I appreciate. Yep, Kanye West as well as the daughters, which is good. We have 3 songs left. I think that'll probably be us. Yeah, I think that'll probably be us for today, guys. Yeah, because I have to go do some stuff after this. I have to do some stuff with family after this. So we're going to be doing the 3 remaining songs. So apologies to anyone who has put stuff through or is in the middle of doing that now. I know it's probably annoying. So we've got 3 songs. There's Stefan as well as Paul, and then there's also Dinner Hay remaining. Stefan. Oh, so that's how you say it. Oh, okay. Thank you, Stefan. No, never mind. It's fine. Stefan. Oh, no, never mind. It does know what it's doing. Let's go, Stefan. Let's go. More Katana and Protector? We will do it. We will do this. So apparently this is a bit more club-based, according to Katana and Protector. Let's do it. Let's go. What do we got? After that really, really trippy song from Daughters. Do we have more electro? Yeah, but honestly, Jacob, I appreciate you as well as everyone else showing me the songs from Daughters and bands like that. I honestly thought a lot of modern production was more aimed at the cleaner stuff, but you guys have been showing me there's a lot of really kind of gritty, hardcore stuff as well. I appreciate these requests, eh? Comfort Aggression. Yeah. There we are. It's fine. My parents wanted me to sound international when they named me, but it's just Stefan with a more French spelling. Yeah. It's a classy one. I like that. Stefan. Let's do it. Comfort Aggression. Nightlife Nuke Edit. What do we have here?
Where are you when I needed comfort?
Don't feel bad. I mean, actually, no, I'm not going to minimize the fact you were bullied. I'm sorry to hear that you were bullied. Being bullied sucks. I got called Bogan. I got called Bogan because I'm Logan, and then people called me Bogan. That's the worst I got for my name.
When I needed a friend. Where were you when I needed to dance?
I like these vocal samples though, they're kind of cool. Great use of the choir there as well, man. What are we building up to, though? I'm excited. Oh, the quarter note pulses are well done. The quarter note pulses are well done. That's a fun vibe shift there, eh? And we're fading out. Great tail to that, eh? Great tail to that. Well done. Yeah, it's great that you can do both. I feel like there is definitely a larger niche for people who can do both the experimental stuff, whilst also doing the more kind of like modern, more flexible stuff as well. Well done. But let's talk about it. This was Comfort Aggression. You got the dance. Was there not more talking? Was it just let's dance? It's just, it's the choir is one thing that I appreciate about this. I think that having this sort of higher power kind of gliding over you as everything builds up, it just sounds epic and cinematic and like a larger than life experience. I think that anything you can use to sort of hype it up and gain some aura. There is more talking. I thought there was more talking.
Where are you when I needed comfort?
There we go. Thank you. I knew I was missing something. Thank you. Where are you when I needed comfort is an interesting line. So the aggression is, you didn't give me comfort, now we're going to slam down. Let's dance, basically. I was thinking there was more talking. I was trying to find it. Where were you when I needed comfort? You know, just dancing and sort of coping with it. I think the choir almost like counting up to a boss battle is kind of neat. Similar comments to the previous track we had, although this is a bit more kind of like, this is a bit more sort of like streamlined, if that makes sense, you know. We build up to that part in the later stage. We have the actual main sort of drop component there. Someone who has just left someone and thinking they were never there for them and just used them. I was vibing along to the song and I was just like listening to the tracks. Sometimes I do that, and this is why I'm always very cautious when I give feedback, because I will like focus on the groove and just get kind of sunk. There are 4 votes. We're listening to them now.
Where are you when I needed comfort?
Okay, not touching.
When I needed a friend.
Okay.
Where were you when I needed to dance?
Where were you when I needed comfort? When I needed a friend? Where were you when I needed to dance? Yeah, there you go. And that's it. And the track eventually builds up to the boss battle, where you slam down and you kind of show how pissed you are that they didn't have that person there with you. I like that there's a story here. I think that that's a really important thing with electronic music, is to have a story. If you want it to be memorable, there needs to be something in there that kind of ties it together a little bit, you know, because it's really eloquently and effectively produced. And like, honestly, I listened to a Katana and Protector track at this point. I got no doubts about the way it's going to sound. Like, I have no doubts about the way that it's going to slap. But I want to walk away thinking, wow, I learned something, or wow, I feel really bad for that person and I can kind of relate to that. And I think that I can kind of relate. I think most people can relate to the idea of not having someone there for them when they really needed to sort of dance with someone. I think that the world would be a better place if more electronic music had stories. And I know that's probably a bit sort of like reductivist or something like that, but I hear there's a percentage of electronic music I hear, and outside of like major labels and outside of the stuff I do with like, you know, you guys, where like through Fiverr, for example, where I'll have people, they'll send through instrumentals and I just don't know how it applies to it. So I appreciate there's a story here. I think that the idea of wanting to dance alongside the minor key with the choir and the steps, bass and everything, like the chord note groove, it's almost like I get the aggression in the title line there. We want to comfort. We're dealing with the feelings we have there. It's just heavy as hell. There's a big build up to it. The oscillating synthesizers and everything like that are fantastic because it illustrates not just a capacity for production, but it also shows a sense of tension and angst underneath the surface, which is really effective. I appreciate that. It's like you're building up to something. Grace use of rises there. The oscillation is tight there. You're continuing to build up to something. And I think part of what also works about this is that it's very easy to follow along to. And it also doesn't overstay its welcome. Sometimes you'll have tracks and people will have like more than one like big drop and build, and it'll be the same thing the second time. And I think that that's a very dangerous thing outside of like extended mixes, because you know, you want your entire track to pop off to an extent, right? You want there to be continued reasons for people to listen. And if you rely on your drop being just as good the second time with minimal adjustment to it to kind of continue people going, it can be kind of difficult. So I think when you do have an in and out at 3 minutes, it's nice and short, lots to appreciate within there. It's very well done. Yeah, I would say that the outer chorus variation is lost. I think you listen to a lot of music, especially in the, like a lot of genres in the mainstream pop music and stuff like that. I think a lot of producers and songwriters are provably, anxious about the concept of changing things too much because they really want people to keep listening, and people just want a brain fry and a simple theme. Yeah, I think I'm hesitant to say that. I think there's also an assumption made within different groups about what the other person thinks or wants, and a lot of, I think proof evident of that is people's just disdain and lack of love towards AI music, where it is the unconditional of that. Like a student that I was working with today is studying production in college, and I'm teaching him piano, and we decided to have a little bit of a 2-minute screw around in Suno.ai, and it's just the one idea that's repeated, and it's really cool how they do it, but the AI doesn't have enough range to really adjust things in a way that makes sense. It just knows how to make an image, but not how to create an animation, if that makes sense. Exactly, but this is the thing. We just can't take... This is why I appreciate music like yours, is that you know how to vary these things in a way which is affecting and effective. So I think the structure here, even if it's less experimental or adventurous than the previous track, works better for the shorter time frame, and I think that ultimately it's well fleshed out and structured with no filler. And again, it's just a similar sort of comments about the studio production being top tier. And I'm honestly, I hope that you can continue to make music and get exposure for your stuff, because you've got some serious chops in this genre. I think you've got some really cool music, and I look forward to hearing more of the stories in future. Having those vocal takes is good. People love being able to sort of we understanding what's going on to a certain extent, anyways. And any information is valid. So thank you to Katana and Protector for that track, Comfort Aggression. I'm glad that we actually listened properly the second time and got the lyrics. But what do we have next? Well, I think we have two tracks next. So we'd have Paul 7931. And what does Paul have for us today? I know this isn't the first track for today. Thank you for that. I appreciate the previous pick we had. We have Pantera, Live in a Hole. Brutal. I like Pantera. I think they're a great band. Who here else likes Pantera? R.I.P. Dimebag. I mean, it's just so furious, isn't it? Immediately. You hear that slap of the kick there. I mean, it's furious with the lead playing. It's just absolutely furious with that, eh? Was that a vocoder? Or a voice box? And right back to the riff. Interesting playing around with the dissonance of those unison bends. Hi, Money Shot TV. Yeah, if you wanted a song reviewed, we would potentially need to pay for it, but the queue is closed. So it would have to be another day. I mean, phenomenal guitar playing there. It's kind of chaotic though, isn't it? That was quite a heavy song. I mean, I know it's Pantera, so that goes without saying, but, you know, like lyrically, I mean, full of grief, I scream at the wind, thought I heard the words of others, imprison myself and stay in a shell, I won't let you in to have a story to tell. I kind of get the feeling that this is about hating a certain kind of like part of people. You know, like hating life and feeling alone and staying in a hole with people who don't question what you do and kind of being in a hive mind, if that makes sense. Because I understand what burns in my mind. Yeah, but then they're also isolated, so they don't have the people around them or they don't have friends. They're merely just people who are acquaintances of convenience. But there's a lack of actual connection there, and so they're not really sure. But they're so scared, their fear grips the will of stone. The grip fears, you know, that they'll die alone. So I think that there's actually some really interesting complex stuff being discussed within this from the vocalist. I think that the way that it's sung is phenomenal. Is it Phil Anselmo, if I'm not mistaken? I think the vocalist of Pantera, they're incredible. The vocal fry, the aggression there, the kind of sizzle to it, the intensity of it makes a lot of sense when we hear what they're discussing here. But they're a bit more gentle with the My Fear Grips the Will of Stone part. And then My Grip Fears when they invert it. It's really sort of them almost sort of like questioning what's going on there in a sense. You can tell they're pissed off and upset, but they're also trying to figure out why that is, and they're almost there. And I dig that. I think that inherently, that's a really interesting story that I really haven't heard a lot of, and I think that it's sung really well with some compelling melodies and performances on the mic that do kind of like connect well with the subject matter, whilst also work really well with the instrumental backing. I think in addition to that, the kind of stop-starting nature of the structure of it, I think is more meant to sort of represent the difficult time that they're having coming to terms with who they are and what they're trying to accomplish in life. You have these movements and moments where you've got filled by themselves on, on the microphone, and then you have the call and response of the guitars, bass, and drums. And even at the start there, you have the chug coming with the guitars, but then you kind of also have these dissonant chords there that add a sense of sort of like uncertainty and intention to it, with some, even the unison bend parts sound kind of like wild, and there's a flurry of it, and things are asymmetrical in the stereo field where you have like the lead guitar on one side, and then you have the rhythm on the left there. And like it's a slow kind of like lumbering piece there where we're trying to sort of like drag ourselves through the mire of how we're feeling there. And that's represented, I think, by the halftime feel there. We speed up when we're assertive in our position of needing to move forward or be sort of like stop. And there's a nice sort of like satisfying sort of performance on the percussion there. It's nice and tight with the rhythms, keeps the tempo, variety of different patterns there. And in fact, there's a lot of creativity shown on the different guitar and drum parts. They're fantastic musicians. But structurally, it sort of seems like the song is unsure of how it wants to move forward, and it's kind of like checking itself, you have similar riffs repeated throughout in different parts, but never too much of the same. I mean, you have these moments where Dimebag is just shredding, absolutely shredding on the guitar, and it's impressive the way that they're putting things forward. But it's also tricky because you don't get enough of that. Like in a lot of other songs in Pantera, he'll keep going for a while. But in this one, it's almost like we're sort of, again, checking ourselves, and then in our hole, sort of far away, doing a bit more of it, and then we come back to the surface. It's like we have some other ideas, but we sort of shovel them down and get back to the riff. And I just think instrumentally, that's a cool idea there with a lot of creativity with the actual composition. I think finally, in terms of the studio production, the way that it's produced, it's just got this kind of cold, sinister, crispy tone to the distorted guitar as the leads. The bass, the drums have this crackle to them. The vocals are unforgiving as well. And ultimately, it's just it's a hard sounding album. There are warmth in certain components, I think, but in this particular track, it's meant to sound like chilling, like it's a story that you're not going to forget. And I appreciate the creativity with the harmonies and the instrumental components there and the performances, but it's also the mixing decisions in regards to like the panning of certain things within the stereo field, the balancing, the composition, the limiting, etc., the dynamic range to it, the way that things are glued, but in a way where it's not too much to be like an EDM track, but it's also not too little that it still sounds heavy and full of force. So ultimately, just a really fascinating track. I do like Pantera quite a lot. Again, Dimebag is one of my favorite guitarists. He's an incredible musician. Again, rest in peace. And I am thankful to have listened to this track today. So thank you to Paul7931 for putting that through. Really, really fantastic music. Great stuff, eh? I think we just have one more before we finish up for today. This will be the last song for today. I don't think I missed anyone. I think we're pretty much on point where we need to be with stuff. But yeah, I don't think I've done free reviews for a while. It was just, I know that there will be people that disagree with the idea of having paid reviews, but when the reviews were free, there'd be like 15 songs in the queue immediately, and it would take like 2 hours for people to get their song done. I think having it this way, it's a bit slower with the queue, but at least when you put it in, it'll be done, So we've got one more track from Dinner Hay today, and this is titled All Too Well by Taylor Swift. It was nice reviewing Taylor Swift's music the other day. I'm doing Jelly Roll tomorrow. Jelly Roll is just simply because I'm curious about them as a musician. I don't know much about them. Apparently, they are a mercenary for hire in terms of music. They will do music with anyone if it's paid, if I'm not mistaken. So it'll be interesting to see what Jelly Roll does. But until then, we have All Too Well from Taylor Swift. Thank you, Dinahay. This song is why people love and hate Taylor to an extreme. Let's do it. We have 5 minutes of this. Let's go.
Through the door with you, the air was cold, but something about it felt like home somehow. And I left my scarf there at your sister's house, and you've still got it in your drawer even now.
Oh, okay. Nice development of the drums here, though. Why do people love and hate Taylor to an extreme because of this song?
Photo album on the counter, your cheeks were turning red. You used to be a little kid with glasses in a twin-sized bed. Your mother's telling stories about you and the T-ball team. You told me about your past, thinking your future was me. And I know it's long gone, and there was nothing else I could do. And I forget about you long enough to forget who I needed to. 'Cause there we are again in the middle of the night. We're dancing around the kitchen in the refrigerator light. Down the stairs, I was there, I remember it all too well.
Great development with the piano.
And maybe we got lost in translation. Maybe I asked for too much, but maybe this thing was a masterpiece till you tore it all up. Running scared, I was there, I remember it all too well. Hey, you call me up again just to break me like a promise. So casually cruel in the name of being honest. I'm a crumpled up piece of paper lying here, 'cause I remember it all, too well.
I mean, it is kind of corny and cliched, but I also think, like, is it sensible to? It's people's opinions, regardless. You know, it's opinion. It's people's opinions. You know, I was about to give an opinion, but then it's like people are allowed to have opinions on about it. You know.
Won't fly, it's
Yep.
like I'm paralyzed by it. I'd like to be my old self again, but I'm still trying to find it. After plaid shirt days and nights when you made me your own, now you mail back my things and I
So that was All Too Well, Taylor's version. I assume that was probably the one that they re-recorded after the royalty situation. By the by, am I correct in assuming or understanding? Am I correct in understanding that Taylor has bought back her old versions? Have they got the masters now? Because if they've got the masters, that's crazy. That's crazy money for Taylor. That's crazy money. I mean, they were already a billionaire beforehand, but that's crazy money. Because she's just got both versions now. She's got both versions getting views now. That's wild. That's crazy. That's 4D chess, man. That's 4D chess. So let's talk about this one. I mean, clearly it's about someone looking back at the way that they lived and realizing that they needed, that they're reminding the person of how things used to be when they were kids, and the scarf that sort of brings it all together and ties them all together. And it's a very cheesy song. You know, that's just, but I think a lot of people can relate to it. I think a lot of people, you know, they get nostalgic for how things used to be. And feel like the memories and connections and the futures that you thought you were going to have with other people. I mean, hell, even I had a person, when I was younger, I used to have a girl that I had a crush on. And I thought that we were going to be together. And no, that isn't how it worked. But like, I think a lot of people are going to relate to songs like this and stories like this. And that's whether Taylor made this track as a calculated move or as something that they genuinely experienced and cared about is another debate entirely. And it's honestly whatever she wants to do is what she's going to do, right? But it makes sense if people think it's cheesy, and it makes sense if people love it to pieces. I think it just depends on your level of sentiment and how much you relate to it. And I also think there's room in the world for this kind of music. And the same way there's room for less cheesy stuff, you know? So one of the things that works well within this is that it's just a story that gets told over time. I didn't necessarily enjoy or find it like myself enraptured by it. But I think getting more, for people who are trying to follow along with the story in audio form, it works well. It's a storytelling device. It's practically through composed, you know. We have a mixture of different instruments throughout, but Taylor's vocals are the one sort of distinct narrative throughout. No, actually, we have male vocals, I think, for a chorus at some point, just to sort of ground things out a little bit. But I think ultimately very effective. And you have the Taylor with the guitar strumming along, you know, the kind of girl with the guitar, that kind of humble vibe to it. You have the bass and the drums coming a little bit later on to add a bit of sizzle and sort of like spice to it. That's kind of cool. And there's some interesting vocal ideas from Taylor as well. They sing well. They have good head and chest voice. No, it's not like a revolutionary performance, but it works well for that like lady looking back on the life with the man with the scarf kind of aesthetic there. You know, the coloration and how she integrates and harmonizes with the chord progressions and other elements within the arrangement is fantastic. It's a very sort of cheery kind of like Hallmark-esque kind of song. But like, it's solid, fundamentally, musically, structurally solid. And there's a nice sizzle and rumble from the studio production of the track as well. I think that's really well handled there. I appreciate the polish in terms of the various components there. Granted, at Taylor Swift's level, I would expect no less. I would be surprised if I heard a song from Taylor Swift. I would be surprised if I heard a song from Taylor Swift and it was not well recorded, mixed, and mastered, considering the budget, the scope, the kind of the position they're in. I think the strings are just a sort of like trademark kind of elevating things further, kind of peaceful, opportunistic, kind of wholesome kind of timbre within it. And I think going up into our upper head voice or mixed voice there and just trying to sort of like get to our kind of ceiling there is an interesting move from Taylor. It kind of sounds like they're calling out. And I think that added bit of intensity or passion is great. It's welcome, you know? And like we come back down and we bring it down and we have dynamic range to the production as well. And ultimately, again, it's not a revolutionary piece that's trying to reinvent the wheel. It's a song where we are simply, again, a long form discussing our connection to this person and the wholesome nature of the mixture of guitar, keys, drums, bass, strings, etc. Works. It's not all at once either, which is great. There's gradual development throughout, but ultimately it's charming and it's warm sounding. And I think the male vocals harmonize neatly in the lower octave and just flesh the vocals out a bit better. And maybe it's the male perspective for the remembering it I was where kind of thing as well. You know what I mean? But I think it's good as a final note to have that performance variation there to sort of pause things and to have less sort of the drums and bass and certain components, to have some sort of palm muted or plucked parts there and for the vocals to come down. So the music follows the vocals well. Ultimately, it's a satisfying track. I enjoyed listening to it. It's not my favorite Taylor Swift track, but I appreciate why it matters to people. Some of her re-recorded songs mix differently and sounds off to me. Not the song, though. That's definitely a possibility as well. I think, why do you think that is? Just before we finish, because I think we're almost finished for today. Why do you think it sounds off? Because I would surmise that it's partly because we're used to the sound of the original recording and they've just made some decisions in post that aren't things that are able to be done with the studio that Taylor is using. Some of the equipment that they might have used might be different. They might have over-polished the more recent recordings and had a bit less kind of like sparkle. Sometimes the best sounding recordings are the one with that little kind of unknown je ne sais quoi. And that is not something we can replicate in post because we don't know what that je ne sais quoi is by proxy with that. But yeah, it's even if we can't necessarily explain why it's off, it still makes sense that it would be. And I think that when you have a different mixing engineer, or if it's Taylor being in charge, like executive role of the production with her experience, it's gonna be a more mature one. Oh, maybe because the new version needs Dolby Atmos. Why does it need Dolby Atmos? Why does it need that? That's very silly if that's the case, in my humble opinion. I think that's it. Maybe they just overcomplicated it. In a sense, I think that's intelligent. Maybe Taylor knew they would get the versions of the original ones eventually, and having a Dolby Atmos version to surround yourself in is another thing, but that's probably at least half of it. That is probably half of the reason that it sounds different, because there is a difference between mixing in stereo and then mixing for these other practicalities. Ultimately, though, great track. Thank you to Dinahay for that, and I appreciate the extra sort of like info about it. So we're going into conclusion time for today because it's time for me to head off, but I appreciate all the songs we've gotten to review today. It's been genuinely cool to check them out. We've had tracks from Bill and Paul7931 and Dinnerhay and Katana and Protector and Jeremy Stevenson and Jacob and Stefan. All sorts. Thank you for all of your requests. I genuinely appreciate it. I've had a good time listening through these today. Again, if you're keen to check out more Jelly Roll, we're doing that live stream tomorrow. I've been enjoying doing these weekly live streams. It's been good times. Dinahay, if you're still watching this, Dinahay, you're going to be due for your review tonight. And then Jacob's will be tomorrow. I also have a surprise for the patrons in the $12 tier that I'll be talking about on Monday. But what it basically amounts to, I'll say this now because I don't know if anybody will watch to the end of this live stream. I'm thinking that every month I will do an album of a patron's choice in a live stream. So I will be doing an album review of a patron's choosing once per month. And that will be the final Sunday live stream for me of each month. So in July, I just have to figure out who is the earliest patron, because I'm doing them chronologically. But basically, in addition to the monthly music reviews, $12 patrons will also get like an annual album review as well. It'll just have to be under 60 minutes. But I figure this is just out of respect to and appreciation of the people that have stuck with me with these reviews, as I haven't been doing live streams and stuff like that. And also for those who continue to support via Patreon. The caveat for anyone who is not a $12 patron and who is watching this is that you will need to remain a $12 patron until your month. So it means that, for example, there are a few patrons, and so it'll be a while until like the 6th patron, $12 patron, gets their album review. But I think an album review per month is good. And yeah, hopefully that's a fun bonus. And it'll just be also a good way of getting back into album reviews. It would still probably mean that that'll be the album review for the month, and we'll continue to do like top 5 artists. But we'll see how we go. In the meantime, thank you for watching my live stream with these requests. And for those of you who sent requests, thank you. And for those who came along, thank you. Hopefully you found some songs that you like. Either way, please stay cool, stay safe, and please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as they need the help more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world. And I'll catch y'all in the next SB live streams. Good luck with the move, Blue Dinner Box. Hopefully it goes well. Spiderhands out. 3, 2, 1.